guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies, and you know they are really groovy. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies, and we know they are really groovy.
Hello, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another live edition of Two Guys and a Gal talking about movies. Tonight, we will be exploring Spike Lee. This is one of my personal favorites, by the way. Of course, he's an American film director who's known for provocatively tackling controversial subjects. He studied communications and directing, and he had Super 8 films, of course. Everyone knows him from that. Lee founded the production company 40 Acres and a Mule Filmworks, and he tackles issues like race relations, political tensions, urban violence through his films, which have earned him numerous awards and nominations, including the Grand Prix at Cannes and an Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. Lee's innovative techniques and distinct style has ensured that he will be a legend in America's cinema forever. I say forever. He's that important. So let's bring on Manny Zamora and Rory, the man of 1,000,000,002 voices now. I bet he does Spike Lee. I'm not sure.
No.
He has the popcorn. Do you do Spike Lee?
No.
Oh, well, but you should by the end of the show. I think you'll do him by the end of the show.
No, don't do Spike Lee. Sometimes I do Tracy Morgan, though.
That's not the same guy. You don't get points for doing Tracy Morgan for Spike Lee. It's two entirely different individuals.
Eddie Murphy, who should have been in some Spike Lee movies. I think his brother was.
Well, we do the Pepperidge Farm guy, and we get points for him because actually everyone is a little bit related. You know, like degrees related to Kevin Spacey, or not Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Spacey.
But I think that the Pepperidge Farm guy is like that. You know, every impression is on a spectrum of the Pepperidge Farm guy. That's what I believe.
Did my Eddie Murphy sound like the Pepperidge Farm guy? Really?
No. It's a non sequitur. I was just thinking about that. Okay, but this is about Spike Lee.
Samuel L. Jackson, who's in a lot of his movies.
Who was also not Spike Lee. You don't get points.
Again, but I'm doing people that are in his movies.
Okay, all right, that's true. Okay, you're doing like
Spike Lee adjacent.
Okay, so they're Spike Lee adjacent. Okay, well then we get points for that. That's fine. All right.
7 degrees to Spike Lee. That's what we're doing.
7 degrees to Spike Lee, and exactly. And then there's also
popcorn.
I'm very hungry right now looking at that. I want it. Did you put butter on it, or did it come like that?
It kind of comes like that.
It looks like you poured butter on. It looks like movie popcorn where they pour it on the top.
No, it's just regular butter flavored popcorn. You just pop it. Their butter flavor's already on it.
Well, I want it. I remember you did trail mix. Like there was a week when you did trail mix, and then
I did a little bit of trail mix before the show started.
Okay, there you go. Anyway, this is about Spike Lee. Manny Zamora, let's add to the introduction. You chose this director, and I'm so glad you did. What is it about Spike Lee that resonates with you in your life?
Well, one of the things that I like about Spike Lee is, as I was kind of looking back on a lot of the other directors that we've talked about on this program, I realized that there was a trend that, I don't know if it was subconscious, it's pretty much subconscious, and it's that they're all unique. Is that they have a unique vision in their work. You know a Wes Anderson movie from a Stanley Kubrick movie, from a Hitchcock movie, and a Spike Lee movie, or Spike Lee joint, as he likes to call them. Because again, he has that unique, singular vision. Also, a lot of his movies are sort of thematically linked together. And like a lot of directors, used a lot of the same people in his cast. But he's a very, I feel like he's a very important director, and for a lot of the reasons that you mentioned, Renee, in your introduction. about holding up a mirror to American society, about racial tensions, racial relations, violence, and other things as well. And there's the man himself. And for such a relatively tiny person, if you've ever seen his movies, he's just always like dwarfed by everybody else. He's a powerhouse. And
Wesley Snipes is not a tall actor, and he's
yeah,
dwarfed. He dwarfs Spike Lee.
yeah, exactly. So, but despite all that, his voice, his vision, his storytelling ability, that's his superpower. And I wanted to talk about him. I've wanted to talk about him for a while, and I thought, well, since we're coming up to the end of Black History Month, and since we're not under the weight of any executive orders, we're going to talk about this. So, excuse me, I got doggy problems. So
I wanted to
Rory,
add that
yeah, go ahead.
in the 70s, there was a phenomena called blaxploitation films, which were
Yes.
extremely popular, so much so that mainstream Hollywood tried to get involved. And
Mm,
even a James Bond movie, Live and Let Die, is basically a blaxploitation movie, but with James Bond.
right. Yeah.
Now, when Spike Lee came along in the 80s and the 90s, late 80s, he actually took that and made it into an art form.
Right.
So yeah, he did something incredible. Again, started out, with She's Gotta Have It and School Days, and you could see the potential in those even back then. And then, of
Mhm.
course, he came out with Do the Right Thing, and wow, boom, 1989 just took off.
Right.
And again, yeah, he is a force to be reckoned with in the entertainment industry.
Hmm.
And yeah, we were talking about he's dwarfed in size by so many other people, but he's huge, he's humongous, as like you said, as a director with his own voice.
Right.
So
Yeah.
just wanted to say that.
Oh, no. Wonderful. Yeah. So do you want to start us off? Can you so what's your number one, Rory?
Do the Right Thing.
Okay.
He's made great movies since then, but he's never topped it. It's my favorite of all of his movies. It's the best cast that he ever got together, he ever assembled. I did not realize until this week that Giancarlo Esposito, who plays Gus on Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and
Right.
he was a Darth Gideon in the Mandalorian. He's in the Star Wars canon as well.
Mm-hmm.
That he was in a lot of the early Spike Lee movies.
Yeah.
And amazing characters too. I mean, just we were talking about Maximum Overdrive, where he plays a guy that he's like the first to be killed by a video game.
Right.
He doesn't look anything. I mean, he's so young, he doesn't look anything like he does now.
Yeah.
But man, when you watch the like the early like School Days, he's in that as one of the main characters. Him and Lawrence Fishburne face off in that. And in Do the Right Thing, oh my gosh, I totally unrecognizable as the character in that. Just amazing.
So you're talking about Giancarlo Esposito, right? Gus
Right.
Fring from Breaking Bad. Yeah, I was introduced to him through Breaking Bad, I thought. And then I'm going back over these Spike Lee. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, he's been in so much, but he's such a character actor that you can't recognize him because he just morphs into he's that brilliant. And then if you see him interviewed as Giancarlo, who is like his real person, he's a totally different guy. He's just like, he's a fucking actor, you know?
He's a
It's,
chameleon.
he's a
Mhm.
total chameleon.
Yeah.
I just can't get over. I mean, he's one of my all-time favorite actors because of that. You will not recognize this guy. He physically transforms. I don't get it. He changes his accent. He changes his voice.
Yeah.
The way that he attacks a role is just absolutely insane. So yeah, I was like, wow, he actually got a lot of work years before Breaking Bad, and I just never noticed. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know it was the
And
same
nobody
guy.
saw it because he was such a chameleon. Yeah.
Goodness gracious, that man is totally.
He
And
did
I'm
a lot of
wondering,
TV. He did a lot of TV before he got into Breaking Bad too.
but that makes me wonder how
Sandy.
much of Giancarlo Esposito's talent was influenced by Spike Lee. And I don't know. I want to look into that. Like, I want to know if some of his interactions, because Spike Lee is so, like you said, like a giant of the cinema. I'm wondering if that had an impact on him.
Spike Lee definitely saw the talent in him, and again, as
Right.
a completely malleable character actor. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, let's face it. To go from Maximum Overdrive and that
Absolutely
to
insane.
playing to playing
Absolutely
these
insane.
really meaty roles that Spike Lee throws at him for these early films that he did. Yeah, it just he owes Spike a lot.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And I wasn't aware of that until like really recently, and I'm ashamed to say that.
Same
But
here.
yeah,
This week, I was like,
fantastic. Yeah,
oh my
this
God,
week. This
it's
week.
him.
Yeah.
Oh.
Crazy. But anyways, yes, sorry, but I had to because he's just that
No,
incredible.
please.
Yeah.
Every one of Spike Lee's movies is a different kind of movie. I mean, he does
Yeah.
biopics, he
Mhm.
does period pieces, he does he does comedy, obviously, interracial issue kind of movie. He does like cop drama. I mean, again, everyone is different. I mean, it's a different kind of. This is like, oh, this is Spike Lee's, coming of age movie. Oh, this is Spike Lee's. This is his, historic take on this.
But the one thing that he does, though, that he's really good at, like a Steven Spielberg type, is that he's cogent. Like, he does a great story. He does great character development. He is, he's not like some of these other directors that get wild and crazy and make you think outside the box. Rory, like, you love those, right? I know. But anyways, it's not like that.
I like character-driven pieces.
No. I said the opposite. Like, I'm trying to think of who's the one that we did.
Sarcastic.
Yeah, I was being sarcastic. The one we did recently, who's Lynch. You know what I mean?
David
Spike
Lynch,
Lee is not. Yeah, Spike Lee. Again, more like a Spielberg. He's going to tell you a really clear story. You're going to get attached to the characters and the plot really, really early on. Yeah. And he just knows how to work the camera to get the audience and for a general audience usually. So these are things you can sit down and watch with most of your friends, and almost everyone will probably get something out of every film. They're really, really good films.
I was saying to myself too, Samuel L. Jackson, his career basically got jump started with Pulp Fiction. And the character of, was it Jules was written for him by Quentin Tarantino.
Right,
and I'm like, how did Quentin Tarantino know about him enough to write a character for him? Because I'd only seen him in like one or two things. I didn't realize that, he was a small character in a lot of these early Spike Lee films. Again, just like Giancarlo Esposito.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Delroy Lindo. They all owe kind of Spike Lee a lot because he took them and gave them work through the 80s and the 90s. Up into the early 2000s.
Yeah. And also, John Turturro is in a lot of his movies as well. Yeah. He shows up sometimes in major roles, sometimes in small roles, but he's there. So.
Turturro is one of those guys that makes everybody happy. So yeah, the Coen brothers also reused him a
yeah,
lot in their early
yeah,
films. So he's in all of their films somewhere.
yeah. Just about, yeah, yeah,
So, well,
yeah. Well, cool.
but yes, you're right. Spike Lee as well.
Yeah.
He put him in Do the Right Thing. That was,
Hmm.
I believe, the first one that he was
I
in.
think so. Yeah.
Again, once you work with him, evidently he's such a great guy to work with, and he's so good at what he does. No, yeah, oh, we got to call John Turturro. We got to let him do something. You
Yeah.
know,
I was just gonna mention, yeah, John Turturro is like another one. Was just, oh my gosh, so good.
no. So Do the Right Thing again. Great cast. Danny Aiello is fantastic in it.
Yeah. Probably one of his best roles. Yeah.
Again, there's a lot of people in the cast who are just really, really good. Again, like you said, character driven. You love all the characters. They all hate each other, which is that's the whole theme of the picture. It's about racism.
Right.
In,
Right.
you know, um, I, Spike likes to write about Brooklyn, especially because I think that's where he grew up.
Hmm. Yeah.
There's another film called Crooklyn. It's also on my top 5 list. A little farther down. That's kind of his coming of age picture. And again, the characters are just so rich.
Hmm.
And like Renee said, you're just rooting for them from like the get go.
Hmm.
And just all kinds of miserable stuff happens to them.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
crying for them.
Yeah. But it's it's real. There's a realness and a
Yeah, that's
rawness.
reality.
Exactly. And that's the other thing. Spike does not pull any punches in his stories. He goes for the gut, and sometimes it makes it hard to watch.
Yeah.
But still, it's so riveting and so intriguing that you can't help it. I mean, you've got to sit there. You sit there and you take it.
No.
Everything, because you care
All of
about
his
those
early
characters.
films, he actually wrote them too, which is really amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
he had quite a stack of scripts he was sitting on.
Yeah.
Again, in the late 80s, early 90s.
All right. Well, let me get to my number one.
Yep.
Which, and I got to admit, I kind of went back and forth between number one and number two for a while, but finally I said, "Oh man, no, this one has to be number one for me." And it is Black Klansman.
Oh, okay. All right.
This one is, you talk about, this one is a true story about a man named Ron Stallworth, played by John David Washington, who essentially infiltrated the Ku Klux Klan in Colorado, or Colorado City. In fact, he was the first African American police officer in their police department, and in fact, they reference him as being sort of the Jackie Robinson of the department. But at first, he's kind of stuck in like the records room, where he can't be seen, where he's just sort of out of the way. But eventually, they put him in the intelligence department, where he meets a guy who would become his partner, played by Adam Driver.
Right.
And then one day, just almost as a lark, he actually sees I guess an advertisement in the newspaper for the Hidden Empire. I guess that they're recruiting members, and so he calls him up, pretends to be white, says all these really nasty racist things,
Yeah.
and they invite him to join.
Right.
And so then the police chief was like, "Oh, okay, genius. Well, they want to meet you." And so that's when Adam Driver, who plays a man named Flip Zimmerman, he has to become Ron Stallworth, the white version. And it's just an incredible story of how they pulled this off. And of course, all this takes place in the 70s. And so there's a lot of reference, as you mentioned, to Black exploitation films. And a lot of the tumult of the ongoing civil rights movement amid the background of this case. And you got just a chilling performance from Topher Grace, of all people, as David Duke, who was the Grand Wizard of the KKK at the time, and who later became governor of, I believe, governor of not Florida, of Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes it so chilling is his utter blandness. The just the mediocrity of racism. He's just this guy, who looks like an insurance salesman,
Yeah.
who's leading this organization. And now there is a character, and I got to look up his name, played by Jasper Pakhonen. I think that's his name. He plays a guy named Felix, who I feel like he's kind of a bit of a stereotype. He's just the ultimate racist. Every other word out of his mouth is the N word.
Yeah.
He attacks Jewish people. He hates Jews. He hates blacks. Hates everybody who isn't white. But I kind of feel like he's just so over the top and so just the distillation of everything, of that kind of racist person, that he didn't feel authentic to me. He just felt like a cliche. He felt like I mean, it's a great performance from this actor, and you buy that he is just this just vitriolic person, but after a while, it's like there's no humanity to this guy,
Well,
and that
and I think Spike was trying to tell you that that's the way some of these guys are.
yeah. And there's another character.
And
He's kind of this
again,
little chubby
having
guy.
grown up with the Klan in North Florida under the Georgia border, I've met some of them. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
It makes you scratch your head and you go, wow, man, there's really people like that, man.
yeah. So but that's just how I felt about it. As far as, I mean, yeah, I'm sure people like that. I mean, well, from personal experience, you say that, yeah, these people exist, and I do know people like that exist. I've been fortunate enough not to really run into them, but they exist here in Texas as just as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but it's still it's a powerful movie, and a very
It's a funny movie.
and also yeah. There's a lot of humor in the movie as well.
Yeah.
As well, to kind of balance the horrific stuff going on. And the thing that struck me, and the reason why it just sort of jumped to number one, is that unfortunately a lot of that stuff is still going on.
Oh yeah.
And in fact, the movie ends with
that movie's only a couple of years old. It's one of Spike's latest films, actually.
From 2018. Yeah.
Yeah. So wow, it's 2018. I thought it was like 2020, 2021.
No,
okay.
2018.
So it's
because
7 or 8 years old.
Yeah,
he hasn't done many movies since then, though. I mean, he's done other little things, shorts and stuff, but
yeah.
But he hasn't done a lot of full length movies since then. I think he did another one that went to Netflix.
Yeah.
That's not on my list anywhere.
Yeah. No, I wanted to say that the movie ends with footage from the Charlottesville rally, the Unite the Right rally, actual video footage or newsreel footage of that, and it even includes the scene of the guy plowing through the crowd in his car and all that, and just to illustrate that this hasn't gone away, folks. It's still there.
Yeah.
And it's only seems like it's getting worse. So yeah, just as an aside, but anyway, so that's my number one film.
It's my number 4 on my list.
Okay.
It's 4th on my list. So again, yeah, I enjoyed the film a lot. I knew it was going to be in the top 5 because I saw it a couple of years ago and really liked it. Really thought it was a great performance, great film, a lot of fun. good performances as
Yeah.
usual with Spike Lee. My number two is also a very powerful film in the same kind of vein. It's also biographical. It's Malcolm X with Denzel. Early on, Denzel and him had a thing going. They had a groove going.
Yeah.
And again, when Denzel wasn't available, you got Delroy Lindo, you know.
Yeah.
But Malcolm X, a very powerful movie. I love the transformation of him and Spike Lee from the beginning of the film. You know, when they're in their zoot suits and he's putting lye in his hair and stuff, and how he transforms into what becomes Malcolm X.
Right.
And again, Giancarlo Esposito is one of the assassins. Again, very small role. He's only in one scene, but he gets lynched, trying to escape from the assassination. He gets lynched on the front steps. Very powerful scene. And again, very powerful movie. And it makes you uncomfortable in some places. Spike likes to do that. I mean, there's a scene where there's a girl, very white bread, blonde, goes up to Malcolm X and says, I want to try to help out. What can I do? And he goes, nothing. And he just walks on past her. And it's like, ooh, okay. So, yeah. I mean, that's the way it was. You feel that's the way it was,
Yeah.
So again, I thought as a biopic and a period piece, it's just very authentic. He went out of his way to make it very authentic, and again, you just feel like you're there.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention this because this was my introduction to Spike Lee when I was a teenager, and it absolutely it's one of the things that changed my life because I instantly went and read the memoir that it's based on. I just instantly went, and then that memoir just changed my life because, well, two things. Number one, what an amazing director Spike Lee is, because if you read the memoir that is based on by Malcolm X, you say, how on earth could you make a movie? I mean, what I'm saying is, how could you possibly, there's so much in that man's life.
Yeah.
How would you know what to include, what not to include, and then to do it in a way where you could get through it all in a couple hours or whatever? And you say, no way. That is a massive project. If that is the only movie he ever made, he would have gone down in history because he was able to piece it together in a way where, like, I was a white teenage girl, watching it in the 90s or something. And it impacted me in such a powerful way. But that's the power of storytelling. That opened up a whole new door for me. And he was able to get, like what you're talking about, Rory, that memoir and that man's life was one of contrast, complexity, and constant evolution.
Yeah.
I mean, even his childhood. I mean, his grandfather rapes his grandmother, and that's a white man with red hair, which is why Malcolm X was always called Red, because he had red hair.
Yeah.
So even his biology is in conflict with one another, where, coming from that, but that's a great setup for what he becomes, because and it turns into a love story. The memoir and the book didn't shy away from his love story with Elijah Muhammad, who ends up being a fraudster and defrauds him and uses him, and that massive betrayal. I mean, just imagine you giving your entire life to someone and then finding out he's a fraud. And then he has all these things that he goes through. Then he goes to Africa and basically is called the American. So then he comes back home, and then he gets assassinated for some of that. I mean, but the man himself, I mean, he's endlessly fascinating. How on earth can you possibly do a movie on him and make it right? There's so many ways you could screw this up. The fact that Spike Lee was able to do it in such a way where everybody can relate to it. Everybody could see the man. So so Malcolm X, that not only the man, not only the memoir, and not only the movie that Spike Lee ends up making out of it, they are all three of them something that you actually could transpose into another time and place and get the same complexity. Malcolm X is not just important for African American history. He is important as a human being, as a philosopher, as a lover, as a spiritual mind. I mean, he was having visions of Elijah Muhammad spiritually after he found out Elijah Muhammad was a fraud. That's how connected he was to this man and to his spirituality. And identity. Whenever I think of identity, and now with the trans rights movement, you're going to see a lot of identity. Who are we? You know, and go read the memoir of Malcolm X and watch this movie by Spike Lee, because it's all about that tension of the contrasts in a personality and a character and in identity. Who am I? Malcolm X goes his whole life trying to figure out who am I, and trying to dovetail the conflict in his country, in his family roots, in his spirituality. He's constantly a man at odds with even his own self and his own family. And it's shocking. It's just so good. And everybody can relate. The way that Spike Lee puts that out on film is a way that makes everyone, I mean, you could be a white supremacist. I'm telling you, go watch that movie. You will find something in common with the way, I'm serious, you can, because Malcolm X is, like I said, he's see?
She didn't like that
I said
comment.
white supremacist.
She didn't like that comment.
He said, right.
Look at that face.
That's right.
He does not like white supremacists. Good dog. Good dog.
That's right.
But anyways, that's what I have to say. That was my introduction. That was my gateway drug into Spike Lee. I said anyone who could, and he could have stopped then, and I would have just been, all right, you did well. That's all you ever had to do. And Denzel Washington, come on. I mean, he did it great. He actually kind of looks like him. So
he looks very much like him. That's the creepy part. That's kind of a scary part. Is it? Yeah, he does look a lot like him.
Yes,
but he had already done movies with. I thought maybe Spike Lee and him had gotten together on Malcolm X, but actually he did. I think Mo Better Blues was before that, and Jungle Fever. I think those were before Malcolm X. So they had worked together a couple times before. But yeah, what a perfect fit.
It just worked, man. It just totally worked. And yeah, the zoot suits at the beginning, colorful. The attention to the color and the vibe and the authenticity of the different decades, because of course we go over different decades. Oh my gosh, Spike Lee, he totally nailed it. He made you feel immersed in the culture.
And
totally
the dance scene.
Oh yeah, so good.
I thought with School Days he kind of missed wide with the musical part of that, but with that the dance scene, oh my god, it takes place in the 1940s, and man, you're just wow, just in awe the whole time. The people are just dancing across the floor and flipping around, and oh man, fun to watch. Girls showing out their panties.
Oh my goodness.
And a man of conviction, a man of principle. That's the other thing, which again dovetails exactly with an accurate representation of the memoir and the man himself. That was totally, and Denzel got that right. He's a controlled man of conviction. So his anger is intellectual. He's cerebral. He even his spirituality is cerebral. His politics are cerebral. That's why he's able to change certain things over his life, though, because he's making decisions based on his intellect and reason. He's a very controlled man, and that came across really well in Denzel Washington. What a great match, because Denzel, of course, is very cerebral and comes across as very measured and centered. So it just worked. It was so good. So please, everyone, if you haven't watched it, you got to watch it. Even if you're not American, even if you don't understand American history, and those people are just weird and racist over there. Well, this will explain some of the turmoil that the country went through, and some of the leaders that helped America get through that. Because Malcolm X is somebody who, even though you look at what's going on today and you say, oh, it's all been a waste, we have so much horror and terrible things. That is true. But people like Malcolm X put their lives on the line so that we could mitigate that. Imagine how much worse it would be if you didn't have a Malcolm X out there. and it still stands up. You can go on YouTube and watch clips of him talking, and it'll still be applicable to what we're dealing with today in different ways. Like, he's really a very timeless leader, and you can extrapolate him into different cultures, different time periods. He doesn't have to be a uniquely American leader, I don't think.
Absolutely right. Yep. Yeah.
So that's my number 2.
All right. So mine.
That's the number 2. I get it.
So, all right. Funny thing is that my number 2 and my number 3 are Rory's number 1 and number 2.
Yeah.
My number 2 was Do the Right Thing. Number 3, Malcolm X. And for all the reasons that have already been stated. So I'm just going to skip to my number 4. Rory, what's your number 3?
Okay. My number 3 is Mo Better Blues.
Okay.
Spike Lee's love tale with music, with jazz and blues.
Mm-hmm.
Having been a performer, dealing in live clubs, doing comedy and stuff, a lot of the same kind of thing. I mean, there's a lot of genuine goings on in this film, as far as dealing with managers and agents, and you feel the tension between the and again, Giancarlo Esposito plays the piano player in this. Wesley Snipes comes into the fold, playing another musician that's in the band who plays saxophone. And again, you get with Purple Rain and Prince, they give you a kind of a fairy tale of, two guys and their bands, kind of having a war in this nightclub, and you just feel it's kind of bubblegum and it's kind of a fairy tale. This, you feel it's real. You feel it's genuine. He shows the gritty side of entertainment and the backstage, and again, they have Robin Harris, who we lost a long time ago, who was in a lot of Spike's early films, and for a good reason. He's a very talented comedian. He plays a comedian in this, in Mo Better Blues, and I'm guessing it's some of his real material because it's hysterical. It's really funny stuff, and the crowd is with him. And again, they're cutting back and forth between, what's going on backstage with the band who was just on, and him on stage right now. I mean, I just felt like I was there. I felt like I was in the nightclub, and I was watching, what was going on, back and forth, back from front and back.
Yeah.
So very genuine film. Characters, again, very rich characters, and Denzel basically at his best. I mean, Malcolm X was number 2 on the list, and he was better in that. But yeah, he's definitely in on his game in this one too. You believe.
Sandy D came in and she said, "Did Rory just say blues and jazz? LOL." It was just funny the way.
Was I supposed to say the other way around?
Blues and jazz. Blues? I like it. Or you could say blues and rhythm. That'd be cool.
Rhythm and blues.
Rhythm and blues, jazz, yeah.
Sandy said, "I'm just watching and working on promotions in the background." Thank you, Sandy. We love you. And of course, No Icing, Thursday.
Yeah.
10 p.m. Eastern time. So just want to give a shout out. Yeah.
I'm a co-host on that show too.
That's right. Yeah. All right. So
that's my number 3.
Okay.
And my number 4, it's Black Klansman.
Right. Well, my number 4 is He Got Game. This is Spike's love letter to basketball. And again, another great performance from Denzel Washington as a father who's he's been imprisoned because he killed his wife, and he's offered an opportunity to shorten his sentence if he can convince his son who is an all-star basketball player in high school, who's trying to make a decision as to what college he wants to go to, and the governor wants him to try to recruit him to go to his alma mater. And the son, who's played by Ray Allen, who was actually a basketball player, and who does a wonderful job as the son with the name of Jesus, uh, and it's a story about fathers and sons. It's a story about obsession with sports, and it's also about, you know, Rory mentioned about the the back and forth between agents and talent. Man, the everybody has their hand out. You know, they're all waiting to see who this young man is going to pick to as his college, and the contracts that he's going to sign, and they could tell him, well, you're good enough to join to jump right into the majors, or jump into the professional league and all that stuff, and everybody's pulling him in different directions. And then all of a sudden his father shows up, who he's been estranged from for all these years because he's been in jail for the last 6 years, and he still has a lot of resentment in the fact that he killed his mother. Although we find out that it was accidental, but still, as he was a boy, to see that happen was very traumatic. And so again, great performance from Denzel, great performance from this young man. A great role, or a little role from Rosario Dawson as Jesus's girlfriend. Of course, she goes on to do bigger and to do other things. And again, John Turturro shows up as a coach in one of the colleges that's trying to recruit him. And I don't know, I just really enjoyed this movie as again, Spike, because Spike loves basketball, and you can tell. I mean, every time they mention basketball, or every scene involving that, plus a lot of real life players and sportscasters show up. So yeah, is it one of his better movies? Well, that's debatable, but for what it is, I really enjoyed it. I love for me, it's all about the father and son dynamic, and about the difficulty of forgiving something that's happened, and whether or not you can actually forgive somebody for something like that, and also about like I said, about the money games that are played, and the pressure that are put on these star athletes, by people, managers and even friends and relatives. There's another great performance from Bill Nunn as Jesus's uncle, who feels like he's owed a taste because he helped raise him after Jake went away and all that. So anyway, so that's my number 4.
I agree with you about the performance by Bill Nunn, and he's in a lot of the early Spike films. Here's where we go in different directions. It's on
I got that feeling.
Honorable mention list. I'll tell you, Spike in the beginning was doing films with Universal Studios, and somewhere along the line, he got somebody from Disney said, "Hey, Touchstone Pictures is Disney's grown-up film quote company." Mm-hmm. But even those, you expect them to be kind of, candy-coated, PG-13
Oh, this is not that.
No, no.
It's definitely an R-rated
There's three
movie.
films that he did with Touchstone, and all of them feel kind of cliche and forced. It's like, hey, can you come work for us and do a basketball movie? Basketball movies are big now. Yeah, I'm seeing the pitch here, and Spike's like, you're gonna pay me how much? Oh, yeah, I can write that over a weekend. I'm good with that. It's not, like you said, one of his better efforts, and I hated the ending. I'm just that ending I just thought was stupid, and I thought oh boy was another one with uh ah
Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin. I kept wanting to say Aston because they're both wearing the Goonies, Sean Astin and Josh Brolin. But yeah, Josh Brolin. I thought the ending on that was really stupid, and I hated it, and it made me hate the whole movie. In any case, yeah, not my favorite.
Fair
The
enough.
basketball scenes, like you said, were phenomenal. There's a scene where they play basketball together in the movie that's just really, really awesome. And again, all those over the shoulder one shots into the basket, and I know they didn't do that with CGI.
That was all them. Yeah.
It was legit, and so that was pretty impressive actually with it, and I enjoyed those. It's just when I got to the ending, I was like, oh, come on now. All right, I'm giving you a little bit of leeway here because they're probably making you do this. But
Yeah.
come on.
I agree with you with the ending. I didn't.
Yeah.
I thought, no, why? Everything was fine. It was grounded in truth and reality, as a lot of Spike's movies are. And then they do this whole fantasy thing at the end where he tosses the basketball over the prison wall and it lands in it. It's like, And the other thing,
well, and they stole the scene from the end of was it the Longest Yard?
Yeah.
Burt Reynolds thing.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, come on. I thought you're supposed to be original. So I had a problem with that.
I grant you that. And the other thing, I really hate when they have subplots that go nowhere. And unfortunately, this one does have that with Mila Jovovich playing a prostitute.
Yeah.
Denzel's character befriends, goes nowhere.
Yeah.
He befriends her. They have a dalliance, if you will. But then that's it. He kind of saves her from the life, I guess. We don't really know. He doesn't do anything to this vicious pimp that she works for. He doesn't get a comeuppance. It just that to me could have been cut out and the movie would have been fine. Give us more of the father.
I felt like he wrote it on weekends and he was just going through the motion. I think this was a cash grab.
Yeah, maybe so.
But again, Denzel is always good, and again, the basketball scenes are good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just seemed a little cliche to me, a little too cut and dry, and the ending was just kind of weird. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. He's all right. Okay, but what the hell is that? So anyway, they'll have to see it to understand. So that was your number 4.
That was my number 4.
Okay. My number 5 was Crooklyn.
Okay.
Brooklyn with a C.
Mm-hmm.
See what he did there? See what he did there? And it's his kind of his coming of age film. Mostly it's through the eyes of the kids that live in this in Brooklyn, in this brownstone, and David Patrick Kelly plays a neighbor in it, and man, he is just off the chain as usual. He's a lot of people remember him from the Warriors Come Out and Play, and he's in 48 Hours as Luther. Did that door hurt you, man? And he's Luther. And what was the other thing he did? Oh, he was in Dreamscape as the ESP that kills people in their dreams, turning into a snake man.
Yeah.
That. Um, but this is a very different kind of character for him. He's a very, very weird kind of neighbor, and I don't know. There's just something about him that you're just like, what's wrong with this guy? And um, so could have very easily gone the way of Breakfast at Tiffany's with uh, Mickey Rooney and his character, but no, it didn't go that far, thank God, and it was believable, and I really enjoyed his character in it, for because he's just weird, and the kids, Spike, you got to admire him for directing these kids and getting the performances he got out of them, because it's not easy. That's not easy. Spielberg can do it, he's really good with kids and directing kids, but I was really surprised that Spike was able to get the performance he got out of those children. And again, great performance by Delroy Lindo, Angela Bassett. She turns up in a lot of movies after this one for Spike.
Yeah.
She's in Malcolm X, and but again, another great character piece, another great Spike Lee joint with lots of interesting characters and their interactions with each other, and the tensions between them, and how they get past all of that. So again, a very, very enjoyable watch.
Cool.
That's
all right. So my number 5 is Mo Better Blues, which we talked about. Yeah, it's mainly about Denzel Washington, and you were talking about, it's funny, you were talking about kids. There's that great scene at the beginning with the character as a little boy, learning to play the trumpet, and all his friends are outside, asking if he'll, hey, can you come out and play? Can you come out and play? And his mother yelling at him, now he's got to practice and all that stuff, and him like, yeah, I never get to do anything, and all that stuff, and yeah, it's really good. It's a really good performance from that little actor, and some of the other kids, and of course, then you get Denzel as the adult trumpet player, Wesley Snipes as the saxophone player, who sort of is kind of a rival, both as a musician and eventually as a he kind of steals one of his. Denzel's a player in this one. He's got 2 women on his string, or he's stringing along 2 different women. But he tells them, and he's up front. It's like, hey, I'm not about all that love stuff. You know what you're getting into. We'll do the Ficky Waka every now and again, but that's it. I don't want any strings. I'm not about the strings. Although he kind of eventually changes his tune towards the end of the movie, and there's a great sort of full circle moment at the end where his kid is playing the trumpet, and or learning to play the trumpet, and same kind of situation, hey, can you come down and play, and all that stuff. So that was a nice little moment of kind of the circle of life, as it were. And Spike Lee playing his friend and his manager.
Right. Spike Lee plays characters in all of his movies, and in many cases, they're big characters. He
doesn't write himself little parts.
It's not like not like Hitchcock, where he just kind of inserts himself in a scene. You go, oh, there he is. No, it's actually he gives himself characters with some meat to them.
Oh yeah.
And it's again, like it's not easy to direct and act in a film at the same time. It's not an easy task.
Right,
and again, in the beginning, I think he did it because he wanted to push himself as an actor, but he's a director to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Well, we saw the same thing we were talking about Woody Allen. He put himself in a lot of his movies as well. But and a great performance too. and you know, and he becomes in the movie. If there's a theme to this movie, it's about hubris, and it's about because what or Denzel's character, incredible, tremendous trumpet player, but he's got this enormous ego, you
Mm.
know, and it becomes his downfall. Same thing in a way with Spike Lee's characters, his manager. I mean, it's not so much the ego, but you know, he 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 has this gambling problem,
Yeah.
and
There's no common
eventually,
sense
it catches up with him, uh,
in the form of
and
Samuel L. Jackson.
former Samuel L. Jackson, yeah, beating the tar out of him, and also a nice little performance from Ruben Blades or Blades. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. I think it's Blades, as the guy who's, I guess, the bookie that he's always going to, who's it's like, oh, can you carry me? Can you carry me? Yeah, I feel lucky about this one. And he keeps telling him, like, you're gonna have to pay me. And, eventually you're gonna have to pay me. And of course, it gets to the point where he has to send the muscle to collect or to teach the guy a lesson.
And they enjoy their work.
And man, do they enjoy their work. And what and Denzel learns his lesson about trifling with women's affections.
Mm.
You know, and all that happens. So yeah, but the music is at the heart of the movie. Like you said, again, it's a love letter to his love of jazz and blues. There's a great kind of argument between him and Wesley Snipes' character at some party where Washington or the character is bemoaning the fact that even a lot of black people don't appreciate jazz, and like, it's our music, it's our music, we invented that, but they won't come and listen. They want to listen to this other set, this other stuff, and or anything that isn't, and so they won't even come to the shows or support us, and said, well, of course, Snipes is like, well, maybe if you played stuff that people want to listen, and all that. So there's that argument, so anyway, so that was my number 5, which.
So we reach our honorable mentions list.
Yeah.
So Jungle Fever, good movie. More racial tension in the form of interracial relationships. The 25th Hour. That was a surprise to me because it didn't feel like a Spike Lee movie to me. It's
Ed Norton.
Brian Cox, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and Anna Paquin is so damn sexy in that film. Oh my god! And you just feel Philip Seymour Hoffman just getting uncomfortable at the fact that she is so sexy and she's right there next to him all the time. Yeah. You as an audience member, you feel that. Very interesting film. Nice twist ending. That ending I liked. Inside Man was another one that I thought was pretty good. Just a very entertaining film. Again, didn't seem as much like a Spike Lee movie, but a very entertaining film. Summer of Sam, another biographical, based on real events. Very good. Getting the period. And they threw in Jimmy Breslin, as kind of a narrator, kind of storyteller. The one thing I didn't like about it a wonderful performance by John Leguizamo, who was just
Mhm.
getting known at that time as a stand-up, and Spike actually directed one of his comedy specials. Um, and it was the first film with Adrian Brody.
Richard Brody,
All
yes.
this
Mhm.
spiky stalagmite head stuff going on. Um,
Yeah.
he's the guy that everybody thinks is the son of Sam, and they beat the hell out of him at the end of the movie and find out, oh, not him. The one thing I really didn't like about it, though, was the casting of David Berkowitz.
Mm.
I like Bartolucci, Michael Bartolucci.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of stuff, and including some of the Coen brother movies. We mentioned them earlier. He's a great actor. I like him. I just didn't buy him as David Berkowitz. He just didn't look the part.
Mhm.
They tried to put a wig
Yeah.
on him and everything, but it felt like a Saturday Night Live sketch. Okay, the wig looks right, but everything else doesn't look so good. So I didn't buy him as the son of Sam. I liked what they did, what he did with the dogs. I just didn't buy Bartolucci as he just doesn't look like David Berkowitz to me.
Mhm. Yeah.
He looks wrong. He looks more Italian. Actually, he looks kind of Irish. Um, didn't look like Berkowitz to me.
Yeah.
So that was something that knocked it down to honorable mention list. Clockers, really gritty, brutal drug movie. This was his drug pusher movie. Very, very gritty. Makes you uncomfortable with how gritty it is and
Mhm.
real
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
And again, it opens with real. It looks like real police shots of gangsters that were killed, shot in the street. And it's about a couple of cops. They're are constantly finding these kids on the street, shot up, from doing it, selling the drugs. A lot of good performances in that film. So it's
Mhm.
worth a watch. If you like Spike Lee,
Yeah.
it's worth a watch. If you like cop drama type stuff, it's worth a watch.
Yeah.
So that's my honorable mention list. And I mentioned
And
Old
it,
Boy and He's Got Game as my two dishonorable mentions. I just hated those
aw.
endings. I just
Yeah.
hated those endings.
Yeah. No, I
I
fair
mean, they
enough.
had such
Yeah.
both those movies had such potential, and then at the end it was like, what? Where are you going? No, don't go down this road. I don't want this.
Yeah.
But that's the way it was. So
Yeah. Yeah. Old Boy. Old Boy was a disappointment just
yeah.
because the original South Korean movie is so dang good.
Oh, okay. It's based on a Korean film. I didn't know that.
It's it's a remake.
Oh man.
And oh my God, it's if you haven't seen the original,
Yeah.
do yourself a favor, look it up, find
It's
it.
called Old Boy.
And it's called Old Boy as well.
Okay. All right.
There's a sequence that I know they try to do that Spike tried to do in his version where he's going down this corridor and taking out bad guys left and right
Mm.
with nothing but I think nothing but a hammer, uh, if I remember correctly. That is one of the most intense fight scenes you will ever see caught
Oh
on
wow.
film. It's amazing. Yeah. And so I thought, well, maybe Spike can do it justice. He's done some violence in his movies and he knows how to, but yeah, it doesn't compare. It doesn't
Didn't
compare.
happen.
It didn't happen. And then, like you said, the ending, it's like, well, that's just nonsense.
Yeah.
So I was very disappointed.
Nonsense is good. A good word for that. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So okay. Well, my honorable mentions. You mentioned Inside Man. I thought that was really good. I love Clive
Yeah.
Owen. He's not in enough movies for my taste.
Yeah.
Uh,
This was Spike's bank robber movie.
this was his bank robber movie. This was his Dog Day Afternoon.
Yeah.
Jodie Foster, who we mentioned a few weeks ago. She's in it. Denzel Washington's in it. As the hostage negotiator.
Negotiator.
He's
The
a negotiator.
negotiator.
He's the negotiator. Oh, I should stop day drinking. Um,
Yeah.
but
Negotiator.
there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Um, I
No, but
sound
it's
like
a
Crispin Glover.
yeah.
I just don't say negotiation right.
Oh man. But no,
You're right about Clive Owen. He should have more to do. He's a
yeah,
good actor. He's a
he
good
is a good
actor.
actor.
Um,
So
Chris Plummer
Christopher Plummer, yes,
also
we got to mention him.
good
Yeah,
performance.
yeah, yeah. Um, Bamboozled is a very odd movie. Now, this one
Yes,
is
I'll go
is
along with that.
Spike kind of lampooning, or well, I don't know if you even call it lampooning, but it's his kind of take on Hollywood and their treatment of minorities.
Hmm.
Uh, and at satire, it is a little heavy-handed, but
Yes.
it's still a pretty good movie. Not a great movie, not one of his best. I can see why it didn't do as well at the box office,
Um,
but as a send up of Hollywood, it's yeah, I can see it. It kind of works on that level. Uh,
I had a problem with the fact that it just felt like In Living Color to me because it's Damon Wayans and Tommy
yeah,
Davidson, and it was like they were trying to cash in on In Living Color at the time, I think.
yeah,
And I
yeah. It
was
does have
aware of
that.
that. I was
It does
aware
have
through the
that
whole
feel.
movie of that.
It does have that feeling. Yeah, you're right. Scotch. No, it's just water. Uh, but uh, but anyway, I thought I'd include that. School Days. I did like School Days. Yeah, you're right about the music.
I wanted to like School Days. I really did. But again, I thought it was too much trying to be like not a national Animal House. It was trying to be. It's like Spike Lee's version of Animal House.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I can see
and
that.
and like you say, and like I said, the music part of it. He's trying to make it a musical. The music part of it just kind of fell flat for me. It's like, why?
Yeah,
Why did you
yeah,
do that?
yeah, yeah. She's Got to Have It. Just it's one of his early films, and
Mm.
really kind of showed his, like I said, kind of demonstrated that he his directorial abilities that blossomed with Do the Right Thing and Malcolm
Mm.
X and all the other movies that we've talked about.
Right.
But it's his first movie, and I felt like it needed to be put up there. Uh, Girl Six is kind of an interesting movie.
I
Maybe not one of
wanted
his
to
better.
watch it, but I didn't watch it. I didn't get it.
Yeah. Um,
Enough said.
it's about an actress. It's about an actress who, again, trying to break into Hollywood or trying to get parts, can't
Mhm.
finding it hard, and she winds up as a sex phone operator. Uh, and that's how she makes her money, and uh, has a really good cast. Quentin Tarantino's in it, of all things. Teresa Randall's is the young lady. Turturro, Halle Berry, one of her one of her earliest roles. Uh, Joey Lee, who was in Mo Better Blues, and other movies from Spike. And even Madonna shows up at one point in the cast. Um, yeah, again, I felt it was worthy of a mention. Crooklyn, although I didn't officially put it on my list, but it's there. Uh, and so yeah, so those are my honorable mentions.
All right.
Um, so oh,
Next week.
and there was another one that I wanted to mention, and unfortunately now it's kind of skipped my mind.
Oops.
So we're just gonna forget that
Ah,
and move on.
and you did.
Next, and we did. Next week, our featured performer will be an actor who is sometimes he's comedic, sometimes he's dramatic, but always engaging and entertaining and worth a watch, and that is Mr. Dustin Hoffman. So, and he's made a lot of very interesting movies as well. And so, yeah, I felt
Interesting pick.
So that's it for us. That's it for me. And what's coming up?
I'm excited for Dustin Hoffman.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, Dustin Hoffman.
Any concluding remarks about Mr. Spike Lee that you wanna fill us in on?
No, I think we were thorough. So I'm very happy. I'm very satisfied. Thank you so much for choosing him.
She's satisfied.
Well, our satisfaction is our priority,
and it's guaranteed.
That is guaranteed. That's right. All right. On that note, unless we want to do some
satisfaction is guaranteed.
Absolutely.
That's right. So, what's coming up in the rest of the week, Mr.
Tomorrow on Roland Pruitt's Kaiju Review, they're going to talk about Yog, monster from space, also called space amoeba in some markets. A very different kind of Toho kaiju film. No Godzilla in it. It's got three pretty much standalone characters. This was the only movie that they were in. Gazora being the most interesting one. He's a giant cuttlefish. There's a giant turtle, though he does not look like Gamera. Very specific. Copyright. And there's a giant crab in it, which is not Ibira. It's Ganymede. And Kamibas is the turtle. And again, it's a kind of an interesting movie. And Gazora is the giant, looks like an octopus walking on his tentacles. It's a giant cuttlefish. So yeah, you definitely want to tune in for that one. That should be interesting because it was kind of a 1970s box office bomb, actually, because it didn't really have the monsters, the kaiju that it didn't have the Rodan, the Mothra, the King Ghidorah, the Godzilla, that we were accustomed to. It's just three other kind of weird monsters that were created by Yog, monster from space. He gets into their bodies and turns them into giant monsters. On Thursday, General Howitzer's Big Monster Briefing Room, they're going to do Gigan, another Toho favorite. Godzilla versus Gigan, which was a 1971 film. So the early 70s Toho Kaiju this week. And of course, Sandy D and No Icing on Thursday at 10, which would be 7 o'clock Pacific. You definitely want to tune in for that. I think we're doing Rock and Roll this week.
All right.
Yeah, so Rock and Roll's back.
Yeah.
And that should be a fun show. And awesome. I'll be there co-hosting for that.
Cool. All right. And as a reminder, for those of you watching in the future, or whenever you tune into our program, all our shows are archived on Facebook. Sorry, on YouTube. They're on the YouTubes. So if you miss any of the shows that have been mentioned, look us up on YouTube, and of course this show as well. And I forgot to mention at the top of the show that this is episode number 80 of Two Guys and a Gal.
It's a big one.
It's the big 80. Yeah. So all the episodes are.
Lauren Bacall likes our show.
Yes. Yeah.
Collecting more autographs. That's my thing now.
Awesome. Yeah. So, well, better that than collecting debt, I guess. I don't know.
Kind of doing the same thing.
Gotta do it, yeah. Oh my goodness. But
It's an expensive hobby.
Yeah. Oh, I imagine. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next week for Dustin Hoffman. Have a good week. Thanks for watching this episode of Two Guys and Sometimes a Gal Talking About Movies. Be sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell to get future episodes.